Hello and welcome everyone. I am Ozma the Dark wearing a Umbrella Academy Umbrella Corporation, sorry, my bad. Um sweater because at least at Umbrella Corporation is not heavily transphobic and will hire me. Anyways, I'm super white with brown hair and beautiful blue eyes. And posters in the back with a white wall. And I'm here to talk about a Janice Raymond book. Now, if you don't know, Janice Raymond is the OG of transphobes. Like, she started a lot of the modern transphobic movement, and some people are more religious followers of her her particular brand of philosophy. And the pun was intended because Janice Raymond is an ex-nun. Uh but I think the best way to start out is, oh wow, maybe that's not the best way to start out. Uh I'm gonna so I acquired a copy of the PDF from a transphobic website for free. So if they were giving out for free, I'm sure they had permission to. And I won't question that. So because I'm not paying money for stuff like this. So in these notes, there's so many notes. Okay, I'm gonna have to go over each note and keep track of what page I'm on because I will need to go back to the page of wherever I start because there's a lot of that yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of rewriting of common language used, including feminism. Feminism, as used by Janice Raymond, is not about equality. She states that very, very clearly in this novel, in this fantasy novel that she's created. So yeah, other books. I'm only going to use the only other book I'm probably gonna break down is The Transsexual Empire: The Making of the She-Male. Kind of a cool name, not gonna lie. Terrible book. It calls for eugenics, and as one of the major leaders, so like this is very much the philosophy that breaks down the people running these organizations, not necessarily the people who get tricked into following these organizations. The stuff relating to prostitution and sex work, by the way, is Janice Raymond is very anti-sex work, and you see that with a lot of the transphobic organizations, along with Kamala Harris, also known as Cop Kamala Harris. But similar policies are being argued, and Janice Raymond has done a lot of advocacy for the policy that Kamala's a fan of, which is making purchasing sex work or purchasing the paying a prostitute is illegal, but prostituting yourself is not illegal, and that has its own problems and ends up with a much worse community because, I mean, you still have to hide everything. You still have the public anti sex work attitude. So, by the way, yes, yays for me torturing myself. I see how it is. Want me to torture myself? No, I'm kidding. Thank you. A passion for friends toward a philosophy of female affection. Now, I have not I have not yet figured out what Janice Raymond's attitude towards, or what Janice Raymond's definition of being a lesbian is, because she's so vague. She calls herself a lesbian, but the way she redefines everything, she redefines feminism later in this book. Like, I haven't read this whole thing. I've only read a certain amount. I need notes I need to take notes to go through all of this because there's so many weird definitions and word choices, sort of like writing a paper without knowing anything. But I don't know how broad her view of affection is, because it's hard to tell with Janice Raymond what her beliefs, especially given that she claims being a lesbian is a choice. So okay, I don't want to read the preface, or do I? What's it? Okay. You know what? No, I'm gonna read it. The preface. In 1980, when Janice, I'm always gonna put replace I with I have a relative named Janice. I'll say Miss Raymond. In 1980, when Miss Raymond began writing A Passion for Friends, feminists were not talking much about women's friendships. Yeah, because most women could be friends with each other. It was almost as if we thought that feminism itself automatically made us friends. I don't think anyone thought that. I don't know. This is automatically. I mean, to be fair, I did read some of it, and she's got questionable attitudes. This assumption, as many of us learned, was rather naive. Like others, feminists do not automatically become friends. Yeah, I don't think anyone thought that, but anyways, although feminists believed and stated that the personal is political. Conversely, the political was not always personal, i.e., a sisterhood that was created in the struggle for women's liberation did not mean that feminists shared a common world beyond the struggle. We do not necessarily share a space where friendship could occur and thrive. I'm not. It's one of those things where it's like. I don't know what's up with my throat, apparently. Let me drink more water. Yeah, so, I don't think I don't think anyone. This feels like an attack on feminism, is what this feels like. Which doesn't surprise me given her attitude later on in this thing. But so the elementary repurposing. I can skim a lot of this. This is just the preface, because this is talking about because this is because the original version of this book was before the much more well-known book, the Transsexual Empire Making of the She-Male, which is an awful book that argues for eugenics. But 1970s and early 1980s, Western feminism was riven by political division, particularly among feminists in the US, the UK, and Australia. One of the divisions between radical feminists and socialist feminists. Gotta attack those socialists. By and large, it was socialist feminists who got to define the division, since it was they who ended up in institutionalized and secure positions in universities. Oh wow, this is like already going. So, accusing most feminists as being socialists who are indoctrinating people through university. Basically an anti-Semitic framework. It's the what was it? It was I know the FBI has the the particular book. It's oh no, I've forgotten my anti-Semitism. I'm gonna have to give up my born and raised Jewish card. It was not Marxism. Whatever. It's not important. It's very much socialists going through universities and indoctrinating people. This being caused by in anti-Semitic frameworks. It's being caused by Jews. And this is attacking the majority of feminists. They generated most of the syllabi, reading texts, and typologies of feminism, through which generations of college students came to identify acceptable and unacceptable feminism. By the way, she originally mentions it being the original way she describes things makes it seem she's talking about feminism and as a fight for equality. But later on in this, she does say it's for women to be equal with themselves or something. For many years, feminist theory in particular was taught by the quote-unquote brands of feminism approach, where specific trends and philosophies of feminism were encrusted in typologies. This feels like a very technical way of saying it was written down and generally accepted. Anyways, it seems not to have dawned on feminist scholars that just as the rest of the academy was giving up on typologies, women's studies began embracing this method of teaching and learning what feminism is and slash was all about. What? See, I can't figure out what this person even means by fully by encrusted typologies. Like, already this person has lost me. in terms of framework. Because I mean, okay, I'm gonna have to look this up quick. What was even this person talking about? Typology. A classification according to general type, especially in archaeology, psychology, or the social science. Oh, this is an attack on the social sciences. And then the study of interpretation of types and symbols, originally, especially in the Bible, which I don't think is. So, has a problem with feminism being classified as a general type. Weird criticism to make. Very nitpicky, very she's making a word salad. Yes. No. This book is filled with word salads, and I need to try to decipher the word salad so I can understand what this person's even trying to say half the time. That's why this is why I need to take notes. I need to take notes so I can understand, so I can pick apart the word salad and understand where. So, during these unsettling years, Miss Raymond ranted in Women's Studies Curriculum Committee meetings and to Miss Raymond's students about the fallacies of the quote-unquote brands of feminism approach. Brands of feminism. Brands of feminism. Traditionally, feminism is often divided into three main traditions: liberal mainstream feminism, radical feminism, and socialist or Marxist feminism. Okay, I mean, that's people group things. That's how most of the human brain works. Also, yes, trees. Sorry, I'm required by law. Trees. Back to the stupid book. I particularly Miss Raymond particularly scorned typologies of radical feminism, always defined by the non-radically feminist, in which radical feminism was labeled ontological, essentialist, simplistic, cultural, and apolitical, and as a feminism focused mainly on women's victimization. That sounds like a really good description, actually, of the general trans exclusionary type. The reception of radical feminist theory and activism, largely by once upon a time socialist feminists now turned postmodernist, has been to classify rather than engage with radical feminist thinking. So this person's saying that, I mean, what is radical? Anything you don't agree with? So this person is saying that no, this person is saying that is feeling that her brand of feminism, because she is a radical feminist, she self-described radical feminist. Her it is being she is upset that it's being attacked by or the way it's being described, but the classification, I don't think Miss Raymond here understands that the classification is a way of understanding things and understanding what you are what policies you're following is important to decide whether or not you believe it is a good policy to follow. So, in the typologies of feminist theory, radical feminism is written about as having meager theoretic grounding. Probably true. This is largely because, or at the very least, the particular branch that this person follows. This is largely because other dominant white paradigms of feminism, namely liberal, socialist, Marxist, and postmodernist, derive their theories from male philosophical traditions that, in turn, authorize them. What? Like, half the time men co-opt stuff women thought of. Like, what male philosophical tradition is this person talking about? Is this person talking about logic? Because there are, I'm sure, many women who are very intelligent, logical people. I mean, I know one of the foundations of calculus was derived by a woman. In, I don't know, the 1300s. Oh, sorry. For male philosophical traditions that in turn author. Oh, yeah. Catherine McKinnon has coined the term feminist or feminism unmodified for a feminism unqualified by pre-existing modifiers. What is this? What is this even trying to say? This is a job for coffees? Yes, okay. This is true. I need to drink more Monster Energy drink. Usually for gaming. But, dear God. I'll take a drink every time of Monster every time this person says something so nonsensical that it's probably not even worth the time looking into. Also, Ada Lovelace. But yeah, it was Miss Raymond's goal in A Passion for Friends to focus on female friendship unmodified, i.e. to examine the ideas and practices of women's friendships which were independent of men and that placed women at the center of relational existence. I'm not aware of societies of women who are completely outside of out where no men exist. Like I'm not sure I'm not sure Themyscira is a real place. That's where Wonder Woman's from. That island is all women created by deities. Essentially, so they're eternal, so there isn't really a need for to concern themselves with men, but like, and even I don't even know if that would qualify in terms of this framework. This is literally arguing that Mr. Raymond here has achieved an impossible task, or at the very least made an attempt to achieve an impossible task, because you can't um there's too much of society has been affected by men and women to completely divorce people, and acceptances of the various other different genders. It's just so but further, I want to excavate and analyze female friendships that had social, political, and or economic purpose beyond the friendship itself. That goal is as relevant today as it was in the 1980s. I don't know what this person is talking about. Like, generally, friendships are an emotional thing. I think this, I get the impression that frames deeper friendships as having as having a purpose to increase or that is the purpose to influence power structures, which is that's weird. That's super weird to me. Like, say that excavate female friend. I wanted to excavate and analyze female friendships that had social, political, and economic purpose beyond the friendship itself. It frames that as being important, and that's weird, because most of the time people just want to. Friendships are an emotional thing. People care about each other. And given how long it's taking for me to deal with this preface, I might have to just do one chapter at a time of this, because, dear God, is this so... I haven't even gotten to the introduction. I might be able to get through the introduction, maybe. Since a passion for friends was published in 1986, the vibrancy of the international women's movement has given new meaning to women's friendships. In my own life, international feminist advocacy and women's human rights activism around new reproductive technologies, and more recently focused on sex trafficking, prostitution, and other forms of violence against women, have emerged from international friendship networks with women in different parts of the globe. Wow, that's a long and that is a long sentence. That is a word salad. That is 100% a word salad. There's nothing to say about that. That's a word salad. I can't. Just as surely the globalization of female friendships has emerged from the advocacy and activism itself. Women were friends with each other before the 80s. That didn't just start now. Different cultures, some cultures have fought against that sort of thing, and some cultures haven't. I don't know. Much of the feminist organizing that Miss Raymond has been engaged in over the past decade, opposing the globalization of the sex industry. Yeah, because she's anti-sex industry, and the creeping legalization / regulation of prostitution as sex work. This is where pimps are redefined as third-party business agents. You can do sex work without pimps. The main point of legalizing sex work is so that there aren't really anymore. Whatever. Transforms female friendships into international policies. Transforms female friendships into international policies, national and regional legislation, and institutional viability. And it also transforms feminists organizing into female friendships. I don't know what this person is trying to say here. This is so... It can't just be me. Madames also existed before pimps. That is also true. And yeah. And it's not like men don't enter into sex work. And non-binary people and all sorts of people enter into sex work. It's a very diverse group. Anyways. The policy and institutions we create acquire not only institutional memory, but result in effective institutional structure and give ideas. Oh wait, I forgot to take a drink. Because dear God, that one word salad. I say a drink. Drink of Monster Energy. I know I keep saying Monster Energy. It's not a brand sponsor. This is not a sponsored video. I just happened to purchase too much of that. Policy and institution we create acquire not only institutional memory, but result in effective institutional structure and give ideas and friendships consequence in the world. In the absence of political transformation, female friendship remains personal. Growing involvement in international woman power coalitions, networks, meetings, actions, organizing conferences, and forums underpins the feminist friendships of the new millennium. The possibilities of female friendships without boundaries is the hope of this new edition of A Passion for Friends. Oh. Dear God, I hate this. Okay. Bunch of quotes. Might be out of context. Also, I thought she wanted to separate things from men. I thought that was her breakdown. Why is she quoting Socrates in Plato? Anyways. I don't... Sappho's like, but I say that whatever one loves is. That's so far out of context. I don't know. These are the worst quotes. Well, not... Oh, okay, I take that back. Philosophizing is a process of making sense out of an experience. Yeah. I'm trying to make sense of this experience of reading this. I like the word affection because it signifies something habitual. Okay, I like one of these quotes. The rest are really pointless. The Sousa and Langer quote is good. Although I'm sure they're better people to quote. I'm sure you could find a good well, I mean, to be fair, I don't know if the feminism of... Oh my God, I can't remember names. I'm the worst with the names right now. Very famous feminist. I read about her in ethics. Anyways, whatever. This is a book about women together. Women together are not women alone. Yes, that is a sentence. With boundaries so sapphic. Maybe? I don't know, because I don't know what is being considered a boundary here, because the way this person writes is so obfuscating. Um, so, by the way, people, no, not Gloria Steinem. A black woman who talks about how, some of the problems with white feminists, basically using feminism as a way to be the minority. So white women are getting into places instead of having any black people. I know she talks about a lot more than that. It's just one of the things that stood out to me in terms of her writing. Anyways, hetero reality, the worldview that women exist. Oh, okay. So let me get this definition. She has written something and she has given a definition. Hetero reality, the world view that women exist always in relation to men. I feel like a lot of this is better explained with toxic masculinity, but sure. We can we can we can play with this. I think there's a comma here where there should have been a period. Has consistent. Oh no, comma is technically correct, but I hate the way this person writes. As consistently perceived women together as women alone. So I don't disagree that this perception exists in far too much of society. That being said, toxic masculinity I feel like is a better breakdown because a lot of that is about how women are not viewed as having agency. So an infinite number of women will have zero agency, and only men can have agency. It is an aspect of toxic masculinity, and there's a lot of toxic masculinity that hurts men, women, non-binary, just everyone. So many versions of this hetero reality assault women in our everyday lives. Yeah, no, I don't agree. I don't disagree with that in that framing, but that doesn't inherently mean that the other stuff this person says is correct. Lily Tomlin, with her usual wit, makes light of one version. Wise makes light. The phrase first album entitled "Making Light" can be obtained from me. Oh, this is just like. Oh, I didn't pay attention to the page. No. Okay. I've actually seen a man walk up to four women sitting in a bar and say, "Hey, what are you doing here sitting all alone?" This perception that women without men are women without company or companionship. I mean, I don't disagree that there are aspects of that in culture. That's where it is. Or consider the example of two women who got eaten at a restaurant. By the way, not everyone acts this way. This is not like a universal aspect of culture. This is the more toxic elements of culture. Um, Otherwise, you're making an essentialist argument, which is a criticism of this person's philosophy. Shock. A half hour passes and they're not been waiting on. They watch people, men, women together, who came in after them to get served. When they tell the attendant that they've been waiting for a long time, here she says, "Oh, I didn't see you. The perception is that women together are invisible, therefore not perceived." Now, that example has. I don't disagree that the example has occurred, but I don't know if it occurs for the reason of this person arguing. Because sometimes people are not seen for too long in a restaurant. Because mistakes do happen. Anyways, the quote unquote third version of hetero reality appeared in the New York Times Sunday magazine several years ago, an article entitled The Praise of Old Nantucket. Written by women, much of it devoted to the history of the island, particularly its whaling history. The author told how Nantucket men went away on fishing voyages, often for several years at a time. She also recounted the rich intellectual and social pursuits in which the island women became involved. Out of this island whaling era came some exceptional women, Lucretia Mott, the famous 19th century feminist, Marie Michel, the remarkable astronomer, and other women who went back and forth between the island and the mainland to engage in religious, abolitionist, and feminist activities. Associations of island women were formed and grew in numbers. However, the author offered this summation of the wealth of women's activities, but women left alone could not have been altogether happy. Which I mean that's dumb. I don't. And the framework is based on the assumption that everyone's in a straight relationship and that women don't have agency without a relationship. But once again, toxic masculinity does a better job of breaking this concept down. Because it goes into the framework and doesn't frame it as an attack on women specifically. Because even now, this is starting to feel like it's all being framed as an attack on, like, as if men are attacking women. And generally, it's ideal to try to find the cause of something so you can find a solution to it. And this is not looking at the cause of this attitude. Her perception was that women's activities produced less than happy women, but even when women are engaged in the richest of pursuits, they are impoverished if men are not involved. Yeah. This sentence would never be written about men's groups that were historically engaged in political, intellectual, and social activities in which no women are involved. That's true, but at the same time, if this is where toxic masculinity comes into play, because if men are doing what's perceived as too feminine of things, they are oftentimes shamed and treated as, if they're acting too much like a woman, they're treated as not having any agency, which is how women are perceived by the more extreme views with masculinity. Simone de Beauvoir was the permanent personal factor in Sartre's life. Without her, Sartre would have been a different person, but as it often been, the final version I have her final version of Heteroreality that appeared in 1984 review of Simone de Beauvoir's book, Adieu, A Farewell to Sartre, which is about the last years of Sartre's life, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, and then, but as often been said, Sartre has always, or would always have been Sartre all the same. His life followed his own trail and its own logic. Simone de Beauvoir, without Sartre, is difficult to imagine. Whatever her skills as a writer or her role as a courageous sportsman can only be assessed in relation to the Sartre universe. So, like, obviously that's sexist stuff. I mean, sexism, shock, existed and still exists. Perception here is that women together with their work follow no trail or logic of their own. No matter how brilliant or creative a woman's work is, it can only be assessed in relation to brilliant men, or quite simply from the point of view of hetero relationship vision, women's work, like women herself, is perceived as derivative. Yeah, I mean that's a factor in sexism, and it's a factor in toxic masculinity, and it's part of the reason that men who work in women's industries are often shamed. Men who work as nurses, when men or have historically been shamed. Less so now because we're moving towards a better society or a more equal society. But yeah, men who work as nurses, men who work as sex workers, men who work as caretakers, more likely to be shamed and still oftentimes paid slightly more. But there is another point of view and another vision, that of female friendship. Virginia Woolf tells us how she searched for tradition of female friendship in literature, whose unsaid or half words, which form themselves no more palpably than the shadows of the moths on the ceiling, when women are alone, unlit by capricious and colored light of the other sex. Okay. I just mentioned the book itself that's being referenced. So the problem is the world does not stop existing. So if you do something on your own, doesn't matter who you are still affected by the culture that surrounds you. And you have to work to change your cultural attitudes. Like, I have tons of internalized transphobia and internalized ableism and a bunch of other attitudes that I'm always trying to work on. I am aware of impulsive racist thoughts that I've had, and that sounds like, because of how some people view racism, that sounds like I'm thinking a lot meaner things, but like there's attitudes like that I'm aware of and I have the words for, and that helps me realize how conditioned the thoughts are. All black people are cool is an aspect of positive racism that exists in my brain. It definitely exists in the brain. I'm trying to work on that without flipping it towards like a persistent negative thing, like assuming black people are criminals, which would be a worse form of racism. But I think that acknowledgement of flaws are important to figure out ways to cope with them. And I'm not a perfect person, but I try to do my best. Anyway, in the midst of this search, we'll find meager evidence that Chloe liked Olivia. that is that women are drawn to women. However, the scarcity of evidence is deceiving. I'm not Chloe like um hmm. Sorry, because of all the downplaying of certain relationships, that's um I don't know enough about this. So, women have been friends for millennia. Well, not all women have been friends with all other women. Some women are jerks. I mean, that's just how life works. Some people are jerks, some people aren't. Women have been each other's best friends, relatives, stable companions, emotional and economic supporters, and faithful lovers. But this tradition of female friendship, like much of else in women's lives, has been distorted, dismantled, destroyed. In summary, these Mary Dolly's term dismembered. I'm Daily uses dismembered to indicate the way in which women have been deprived of our history and traditions, encouraged to forget by patriarchal erasure of our tradition. As the female body has been dismembered, so too has women's memory of our heritage. This is one of those things where I'm not sure this person's using this in the way in which the source is using it, but um because there is tradition which has been destroyed and rewritten, but people have been friends with each other. So like Sex in the City is about four very close friends who are women. Um there's several other um TV shows, stories, all that sort of stuff. It's so yeah, the dismembering of female friendship is initially the dismembering of the woman identified self. What? The imposed internalized false self of women, the authentic self which women are, and the authentic self which women are recreating. So, I mean, that's more like internalized sexism. It sounds like what that's talking about. The lack of self love is grafted onto the female self under patriarchy. If the graph takes, women who do not love themselves cannot love others like themselves. So, like, I don't like. I really hate that framing. I've seen it in a lot of places. It's like people who can't love themselves can't love other people is not. It's it's an ableist framework ultimately. Um, and um it's very much a way of um it's a way of creating a hierarchy of women. So it's such a weird term. Let me look back. I have to look back at the I'm gonna copy and paste this. I might need to read this over and over to try to process what this person's trying to say, because it could be used in much simpler terminology, but you know. What? Yeah. Oh, okay. Um, the quotes just partial quotes. Um, uh, Originally seems to describe internalized sexism. Uh, Miss Raymond seems to use it to create a hierarchical um, system of women. Um, in spite of the primordial dismembering of female friendship and the enormous pressures put on women to exist for men, all kinds of women have been and are friends. There are women who have been and are for women. Women must learn to identify such women. Women must learn to identify their friends. As a process not realized by anything as simple as wearing an identification card. Um, yeah, I mean, you do need to know who you can trust and who's going to be a jerk to you. I mean, that's life. That's always the case for everyone. There are people who will fight for you, and there are people who won't, who will fight against you. And there are men who will fight for women, and there are men who will fight men who will fight for women's right. There are people in general, people regardless of gender, who will fight for women's rights, and there are people who will fight against women's rights. It depends on the general personality. It's not, and I don't think this framework recognizes as being possible for men to care about women's rights. That might just be me in my analysis, but that seems to be. Within the last decade, we have learned something of the friendships of famous women such as Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan, Margaret and Ruth Benedict, and Eleanor Roosevelt and Lorena Hickok. Hickok? Much of this knowledge has been mixed with ambivalence or outright shock of biographers who discovered the intensity of female friendships of those women. I don't think people are really shocked by friendships. A lot of times, biographers are reframe relationships between uh, relationships that are not straight, or gender expression or gender identity that's not uh, cis, as being strange, and those aspects are downplayed. Trans men in history are described as butch lesbians, or um, uh, bush, just butch women in general. And some women are butch, and some people are trans, and it's not necessarily as um, history tends to place things as friendship, and tends to be like overplay the specialness of women being close friends, as if men cannot be close friends or hold hands or cuddle or whatnot. It's part of uh, deeper harmful aspect of society. The very limiting aspect of masculinity hurts everyone. Um, for example, author Doris Weber was appalled at the emotional closeness in love relationships that are claimed contained in Eleanor Roosevelt's letter to Lorena Hickok. Weber's lesbophobia inevitably conditions what we can learn about Lorena and Hickok from her treatment of this friendship. So, like, if you're calling it lesbophobia, you're kind of implying that it's not just a friendship. So this feels very frustrating. Uh, uh, okay, it's just references. I didn't know if they had like direct quotes. However, far fewer women are aware of the traditions of female friendship recorded in the lives and writings of nuns. Um, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. Miss Raymond here is a former nun. The religious good books, or quote unquote precious volumes that encouraged marriage resistance among women in the rural, I'm not going to slaughter it, area of China, and the kind of sisterhood that prevailed among the, I don't mind slaughtering European stuff, apparently, Beguines? Whatever, of Europe. Um, I know a particular novel in Japan does not frame it straight. She talked about found family, deep, usually aromatic love, chosen, fostered connection, probably. A central premise of my book is that buried deep in the past, present, and future of, well, I mean, you don't know what the future is. It might not be buried in the future. Like, where are you saying that's inherent? Hmm. Anyways, of female existence is an original and primary attraction of women for women. This is where she gets into biphobia. Anyways, this attraction is neither natural nor ontological. Oh, this is where I stopped. Okay. Central to the book is buried deep in past, present, future of female existence is an original and primary attraction of women for women. This attraction is neither natural nor ontological, is manifested by many different women in many different ways. Women who have manifested and do manifest this affection for women initially care about themselves and thus cherish their friendship of others like themselves. Um. Oh wait, maybe it was further down. Never mind. But it's saying that the attraction is neither. Like, what does she mean that the attraction of women or other women is not natural nor ontological? Why have I forgotten what ontological means? Oh, so she's saying it's not in the nature of women to. Wait, what? A central premise of my book is that buried this This sounds like a lot of self-hatred. Or logical. Nature of being. So, not natural as in not reproductive. Really? Okay, wait. If I'm doing an exact quote, I need to. If I'm doing an exact quote, I need to. Dot, dot, dot. Primary attraction of women for when this attraction's neither natural. Save as. Uh. A passion for note. um, not naturalism, not reproductive. Oh God. Um, women who've manifested and do manifest this affection for women initially care about their selves and thus cherish the friendship of others like themselves. Um, female friendships help create the woman of woman's own inventiveness. Simone de Beauvoir said, "If women did not exist, men would have invented her, but she exists also apart from their inventiveness." The last sentence of the citation is far less quoted than the first. The woman who is self-created can be an original woman, not fabricated by man and the friend to other women. Wait, what? Only self. I need to quote this. These are odd quotes. I'm trying to understand this stuff to know how to get people out of this awful mentality, but because I don't think most people who are transphobes have read this or even necessarily would agree to this. Only the woman who self-created can be uh, an original woman not fabricated by man and a friend to other women. So apparently, if you don't self-create yourself, you can't be friends to other women. A weird classification. Toni Morrison takes up a similar theme of female inventiveness to describe the originality of black women. She had nothing to fall back on, not maleness, not whiteness, not ladyhood, not anything, and out of profound desolation of her reality, she may she may well have invented herself. So like, that sounds like it's more about sexism and racism because black women are oftentimes put in a position where there are no benefits ever. They always take black women take the brunt of racism and sexism because they can't. They're at the bottom rung of the hierarchy. oftentimes, and that seems to be what that's describing. But taken terribly out of context. This book is a tribute to the original woman. That sounds like a reference to Eve. No, sorry. Not Eve. That seems to be a reference to wow. I can't think of names. No, the first woman in the Tanakh, because like in the Torah and also Old Testament, there are two different stories of uh uh the start of humanity. One has Eve being created from Adam's rib, but another says that a man and a woman were created at the same time. Lilith, that's what I'm thinking of. So the first woman, the original woman in um the sort of setup is Lilith. Although I don't although it wouldn't surprise me if she's talking about Eve. I don't know. Anyways, and also God is non-binary in the Torah, technically. Anyway, the book is about tribute to the original woman, the woman who searches for and claims her relational origins with her vital self and with other vital women. I don't know what that means. She hasn't described what vital self and I'm gonna put this as a question mark. Vital self and with other vital women. What does that mean? What does it mean? She hasn't made any such references. She's not the creation of men. Catholics generally ignore Lilith, so yeah, likely Eve. Yeah, fair. But Lilith was the cooler one because she hadn't taken none of Adam's shit. Anyways, she's not the creation of men since she does not proceed from their conceit. She's not, quote unquote, the other of Bevor's second sex who is man made. She's not the relative being who has been sired to think of herself as always in intercourse with men, not deny her friendship and attraction for other women. She is herself. She is an original woman. She belongs to herself, who is neither copied, reproduced, nor translated from man's image of her. She is, in the now obsolete meaning of original, a rare woman. We stand Lilith, yes. Lilith is the best. This seems very what's the word? It's where you use a lot of fancy words but you don't actually mean anything. Not word salad. I can't words today, apparently. I need to sleep in a few more days, apparently. It is one of the primary premises of this book that friendship begins with the affinity a woman. I assume that she means friendship between women because whatever. Which begins with the affinity a woman has to her vital self. Yeah, what is the vital self? A woman's self is her original most enduring friend. Oh, it's true self? True to themselves? Let's see if that works. In the previous sentence with uh relational origins with her true self and with other women true to themselves. Yeah, that sounds like what she's trying to say. Dear God. Such a nightmare. A woman's most enduring friend in simple yet eloquent words. Alex Dobkin expressed this theme or song, "The Woman in Your Life Is You." Some song lyrics. That I don't care about. Female friendship begins with the companionship with the self. Aristotle maintained that the friend is another self. Until the self is another friend, however, women can easily lose themselves in the company of others. I mean, technically, that's true of anyone. People tend to act different in companies. It depends on how safe they feel. People usually aren't true to themselves in general, or don't act as if they're true to themselves around other people because of the societal pressures put on people. I do not wish to romanticize the subject of female friendship. In a woman-hating society, female friendship has been tabooed to the extent that there are women who hate their original selves and other women or who at best are indifferent to women. What? I am to my knowledge, do you feel this way? Cause I mean, obviously my opinion wouldn't be perceived as having as much value as yours with regards to this, but yeah, so the obstacles to female friendship has taken a solid root in their lives, and it is they who believe and act out the fiction that women never have been and never can be friends. Maybe that was more prevalent in the 70s, that attitude, but I plenty of women are friends with each other. I mean, that tends to be an general attitude. Maybe or maybe in the 50s. I mean, I know there are aspects of that attitude, but I wasn't aware of it being as prevalent as this person mentions. But like I said, this book was originally written in the 70s, so the social pressures may have been different. This book does not pretend that all women can befriend all other women. Or wait, no, this book does not pretend that all women can befriend other women. Wait, that implies some women can't befriend other women. I do believe, however, that all women have the potential to form vital friendships with women. So, friendships where they're both true to each other. I mean, that's generally what most feminists argue for in general, even though this person's criticizing that. Unfortunately, for many women, this potential has been stunted before it grows to any recognizable extent. For others, it has been strangled at some definable or less definable point. In general, the obstacles to female friendship has been one of the silent spheres of feminist writing. Maybe a lot of feminists have friends, and you just happen to not be good at having friends. Few feminists have wished or known how to explain the lack of women's affection for other women. I don't know if feminists say that's a thing, but okay. There is a maze of obstacles to women becoming and remaining friends. I know this author would not see me as a woman, and I don't see myself as a woman half the time. But like, Girl Fox is a more accurate gender identity. But anyways, that's the half the time comment. But like, I have 3 friends from high school that I have been friends with and stayed friends with since high school, and we've all been friends with each other. So, idea women are generally by default in competition for resources or partners. Yeah, I think that's the social attitude being implied here. But I don't know, because that feels like one more dominated with the more heavily pressed societal attitude of toxic masculinity, which is the limited form of masculinity. There's amazing. We've all heard the phrase, "Many women are worse than men. Women are their own worst enemy." That's relating to a lot of stuff. That's relating to the idea that women can't do anything by themselves, and if they make their own choices, it'll always be wrong. That's another story. Probably we've also felt the force and reality of such statements in our own associations with some women. That sounds closeted sexist towards other women, but whatever. Is easier to understand the reasons why women act out anti-woman behavior than to face the reality of this behavior when it is turned against us in our own lives. The obstacle to female friendship will also arise in the lives of our committed feminists who supposedly share the spirit and vision of woman identification. Woman identification being basically similar to, she's using more than one word that's essentially seems to be saying the same thing. Vital self and woman identification seem to, or well, okay, so technically slightly different, but woman identification as being used is the self that's created by society and true self or whatever. Women have told me in the course of my writing of this work that they have lost friends over feminism, that is, over personal and political differences that have been inseparably connected or with their philosophies of feminist existence. Other women have expressed a sadness of by the way, I've lost friends over personal and political differences. It happens when one of those political views is disregarding your existence and your rights. Anyways, other women have expressed a sadness of unmet expectations and inability to connect with the deepest dimensions of the women they wish were that they would wish for as friends. They had expected that a shared feminist vision and reality would create deeper and more caring friendships than those they had experienced in pre-feminist friendships. And while they had formed alliances with women over shared political ideals, these same women had not been able to realize deep friendships with their political compeers, compatriots, comrades. I don't know. I don't know what. Is this a typo? Is this a real word? Weird word. Peers. A person of equal rank, status, or ability. Very archaic. No, terminology. Some women even remarked that college friends or friends in other contexts, such as the convent or even the army, were more caring, respectful, and responsive on a profound existential level than many women they had befriended who share similar radical feminist ideals. I knew what these women were trying to describe because I had experienced the same loss in my own radical feminist lifetime. Unfulfilled expectations, betrayal, lack of real caring, and the wall of insurmountable differences between friends. In a very real sense, this book has been written in Elizabeth Gould Davids's words to put away this grief. What is more important, it is an attempt to remember a vision of female friendship in spite of this grief, because the reality of an ideal friendship lives on in myself and in other women. Some people you have better connection with than others. There's a lot more commonality in religion and military. There's a lot more commonality in experience because going through that is an experience. So that's just a life thing. You go through experiences together and you become closer. Oh dear God. Okay, yeah, this is the part I'm remembering now. I had skimmed over a lot of this part in my brain space, but this is going to take a while. So I don't know how much my brain can take of this. That sounds like trauma bonding. Yes and no. Like there's bonding in sports and activities done together where everyone's working for the same goal. But like with sports it's simplified, with politics it's made a little bit more complex. That being said, my brain can't take much more of this, so I'm going to end it here on Jin affection and hetero relation, because make sure, okay, that's saved, because I'm gonna need to define stuff here and I don't want to. No, I'm gonna have to take a lot of notes, and I would rather end it on a chapter. This is gonna be a lot of parts. Uh, so I didn't even get to the worst part. I think is it this chapter? Feminism to me has never meant the equality of women with men. It has meant the equality of women with ourselves. Being equal to those women who have been for women, to those who've lived women's dreams and died for it. Um, this is a whole like redefining of lesbian. So we might be able to get to the next part of, or the next two parts of this next. Um, or it may mean that more women consider lesbian existence as at least a possibility. Yeah, it's the third. So the worst is that I have read and where I stopped is coming up next week. And like I said, I skimmed some of this. I think I skimmed the whole previous chapter, but it says contrary to popular stereotype and pseudo biological theories, women are not born lesbians, women become lesbians out of choice. That is a direct quote from this author. But that being said, I hope you had a good time. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy it. If you have any other thing that you want me to do deep dive into analysis of, comment below. I will read your comments. I won't necessarily always notice the likes, but the algorithm will. That's the important. I'll praise the algorithm. But like the thank you if you've watched through this. Thank you for any support you've given, even if it's just watching this and it's not liking or subscribing to the channel. Like, do I was gonna say do what you want. I don't know. I need to take a mental break from this, and I will be on Twitch in an hour and a half, Ozma in the Dark, and I'll be streaming League of Legends for a couple of hours, and then King's Quest 1. So I like to have fun sometimes, although League of Legends is a famously toxic community, and I mean I played King's Quest as a kid. I have a soft spot for going through that series. We're about halfway through at the moment. Also, wait, do you not have uh I can't, come on, let me, there we go. I don't know why you weren't a moderator. I thought you were a moderator. There you go. This should make everything easier for you. Anyways, um, yeah. So everyone, have a wonderful day and take care of yourselves. Drink plenty of water. It's hot out. If you need earplugs and you're in America, because of fireworks. Aw, yeah. I legit I legit thought you were already a moderator. Anyways, um, take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day, and if it's, I guess if you're watching this and well, I mean, I don't know when you're watching this. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, and goodbye.